I think I need to give you a little bit of a background. So, when I was a child, I was always artistic. I was always either playing piano or drawing, painting, making little sculptures. For me, the best holidays were when my mother would enroll me in a summer art school or something. That's what I wanted to do. Playing at home, I remember that I would, for example, play under the dining room table a lot. I would make different kinds of spaces, to play, and I was very dreamy and imaginative, you know. So this was me, from the moment I was born. I was a kid like that. And so I was always very interested in art and fascinated by it, um, curious, you know. But in Brazil, there was no real tradition of art school, and my father was very concerned, rightly enough, to, that I needed a profession, that I needed to work and earn my living and all that. So art school was not an option. My options were either architecture or industrial design. Okay. And because Brazil has a big, has amazing architects, and I ended up choosing to go to architecture school, because it was interesting. I met a lot of architects and designers because my father was an engineer, but he worked in my mother's father's business that was timber, and they were, always consulting with they were consultants also for the architects, for the designers, like the main furniture and architects and designers. They were always coming to my father to have a whiskey and talk about their work. So this is how I grew up, with all these people in my house. And so it was really natural for me to go to architecture school. At architecture school, I noticed that my projects were a little different. They were more free. I would come up with ideas that were completely different from the others. And I started to feel this sense of freedom that the restrictions and laws in architecture were too much for me, that I really needed to be free. I always had this kind of feeling, that I need to be completely free to create, to imagine. And I had a few teachers at architecture school. For example, one of them was a well-known artist now, Ligia Papi. And Ligia, she was, some of the artists also taught in architecture school. And Ligia told me to be an artist, that I had to follow my instinct. And some other professors that I had too. And I think because at second year of architecture school, I started to have this fixed idea every day that I woke up that I had to do sculpture. I don't know where it came from, right? But I could only think about this. And I said to my mother, I really feel I have to do this. And so she looked at me and said, okay, let's find you a studio. You can go after school or something, where you can go a couple of times in a week and explore that. So, so there you go. I found a private studio with a teacher, and they were doing modeling and bronze and all that, which I did a couple of things, but then I had this idea to work with glass. And then I started to work with glass in this ceramic studio, you know, ceramic and bronze and all that. And I left all that on the side, and I was doing those constructions with pieces of glass. And this teacher looked at me and said, I think you have to work with another teacher. I think you have to go to this other art school. It was the Parque Lage, now is a very well-known school, and work with a teacher there. I'm going to introduce you. So he introduced me to this other teacher, and he was a great influence for me. He was a sculptor. With him, I developed a lot of different work. I also met at the Museum of Modern Art in Rio. There was also some ateliers, and I met another important Brazilian artist, Tunga, with whom I worked for 2-3 years. And in Brazil in the 80s, it is a very vibrant place for creation and artistic creation and architecture, design, everything. And it was, I met all the artists. I met Cildo Meirelles, I met Tunga, I met Valtércio Caldas, I met many artists, and plus the people of my generation, like my kind of age. And it was it's a small place, so everyone. And that was, I think, my main upbringing. And while I was studying architecture school, I was learning, everything I was learning was just by looking. There was Leisure Clark, there was all, the curators, and it was really fantastic. But I never went to art school. So after architecture school, I did that master only for a year, and I left. And I just worked as an artist for almost 30 years until when I went to London in 2010. I felt that the world had changed, that there was a lot that I didn't know. And I was thinking, okay, I was approaching 50, and I thought, okay, how do you want to work for this next half? What do you want to do? What kind of projects you want to do? And I felt I needed to go back to school. So I decided to apply for a master in industrial design, because design and architecture design became, on my point of view, the most important thing in our lives. It determines how we do things, how we move. It changes how we feel, what we do, the way we do. And to me, it was where I had to learn some skills that I didn't have at that stage. So I applied, and I got in, and I did the Master in Industrial Design at St. Martin's, in those 2 years. And it was really fantastic for me. Of course, I was the eldest person in the class. But it was really, really good, really good. So I really never studied art very much. You know, it is only by problem solving, and I have a lot of skills. Like for me, it's very natural to look at something or to a machine, for example, and know exactly how that works. Or even if that needs to be fixed, I can fix it. I just have this kind of understanding, for anything that is material, that is, I think from the beginning, my works have been really exploring materials, the property of materials. And I realized after a few years that the relationships that I was creating between materials, there was something there, that was how I was expressing myself. So every time you work with something different, you need to learn and understand how that material works. What are the possibilities that that material will give you, and how you can explore it. I think I'm very, I'm always interested in finding something new, but the whole question is why I'm gonna work now with metal and wood, and I'm not working with, I don't know, silk. So the choice of materials come through just a feeling. It's very intuitive. Either I had a dream about it, and sometimes I have dreams that I just see things. I see images, I see materials, I see situations, and I just go to the studio, or I go and I look for that material, and I wait for that to speak to me. Basically, it always tells me what to do. I have to wait for that to happen. So, it's not that I'm walking and I'm waiting for inspiration. It's not like this, because I think, like everything else in life, if you don't have discipline, nothing happens. I show up. I work every day. I like the nine to six, 10 to 6, whatever. I like the schedule, of being in the studio, of being dedicated to work, whatever that is that I'm doing. I'm quite disciplined and serious about it. I have been like this all my life. And but sometimes you're in the studio and nothing happens. You just have to be there. You just, I sometimes, many times actually, I get inspired by something I'm reading, ideas. I like science, I like philosophy. Um, and often that inspires me. It's always something that is going to touch me emotionally, that is going to connect to what I'm feeling at that moment.